Good morning, and welcome on this brisk New England morning. The lovely sunshine and a little bit of a northwest wind to get you going. Welcome to the First Religious Society, Unitarian Universalist in Newburyport, Massachusetts. My name is Doug Latham, and I am your worship associate this morning. It's good to be together and continue our exploration of interconnectedness. Today, we will consider the role of interconnectedness in community and welcome our newest members. It's not too late to join, by the way. You can simply come forward when we get to that part of the service. We come together at FRS, online and in person, committed to love, peace, and justice. If you are joining us here for the first time, welcome. We're glad you're here. Our mission And our invitation to all of you is to come as you are, journey together in love, act with courage, transform our world. If you are worshiping online and would like to access this morning's order of service, please click on the link just below the live stream. If you would like a large print order of service or a hymnal, please ask an usher. They will be happy to help you. Please read your order of service to learn about the many activities and events happening here at the church. After this morning's service, refreshments and coffee will be served next door in Parish Hall. And we ask you to please go out through the front doors because the side door is somewhat blocked by bricks that have heaved up from the frost. In the spirit of celebrating and strengthening our interconnectedness, everyone's invited to join and welcome our new members. Thank you. It is good to be together.
I loved that response you had to that. It is going to be fun to be over there, isn't it? We'll be reopening it up for our use at all times once the weather becomes a little more conducive to that and not having to have the heat high. I've also been told that it still smells 2.5 months later as very strongly of onion and garlic. So imagine what it smelled like months ago. Good, it smelled good. It tasted good too. Our call to worship this morning is a compilation of words from great thinkers, including Mitch Albom, Cesar Chavez, and Margaret Wheatley. You get meaning in your life by devoting yourself to loving others, devoting yourself to the community around you, and devoting yourself to creating something that gives you purpose and meaning. We cannot seek achievement for ourselves and forget about progress and prosperity for our community. Our ambitions must be broad enough to include the aspirations and needs of others for their sakes and for our own. There is no power greater than a community discovering what they care about. Come, see each other and the gifts of this community. Come, let us know one another and be better for it. Let us imagine and create the world we believe in. You are joyfully and faithfully called to worship. Let's rise in body or in spirit and join in our opening hymn, number 361, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In. You may be seated.
Good morning. Please join us in the words of the chalice lighting, which are printed in the order of service. We gather this hour as people of faith, with joys and sorrows, gifts, and needs, we light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning in celebration of the life we share together.
Each week that we gather on a Sunday, we light 2 candles of peace, representing 2 places on earth that need peace. We know that there are untold numbers of places on earth that need peace. These 2 we will lift up as a sacred encounter with our world in this service and through the week ahead. After each candle is lit, I will invite us all to respond by saying peace, salam, shalom. Our first candle this morning is lit for communities and homes across our country where millions of people struggle with mental health challenges and its stigma. We honor January as National Mental Health Wellness Month and its mission to break the stigma around mental health and support everyone and encouraging everyone to seek the help and, I add, to be able to have access to the health care that they need. To this we respond, peace, salam, shalom. Our second candle this morning is lit for the world as International Holocaust Remembrance Day is coming Saturday, January 27th. This solemn and significant day of remembrance, observed to honor the millions of Jews and other minority groups who suffered and died during the Holocaust, also commemorates subsequent genocides and acts of mass violence. We honor the depth of these losses, personally and collectively. To this we respond, peace, salam, shalom. Let's rise again in body or spirit and join our voices in our affirmation of faith, followed by the doxology. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humankind in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other and with God. Please be seated.
Our reading this morning is an excerpt from 4,000 Weeks by Oliver Burkeman. It's a principle common to virtually all productivity advice that in an ideal world, the only person making decisions about your time would be you. You'd set your own work hours, work whenever you choose, take vacations when you wished, and generally be beholden to nobody. But there's a case to be made that this degree of control comes at a cost. Having all the time in the world isn't much use if you're forced to experience it all on your own. We treat our time as something to hoard, when it's better approached as something to share, even if that means surrendering some of your power to decide exactly what you do with it and when. That means more willingness to fall in with the rhythms of community, more traditions like the Sabbath of decades past, or the French phenomenon of the Grandes Vacances, where almost everything grinds to a halt for several weeks during the summer, or in Sweden, in the forms of the fika, the daily moment when everyone in a given workplace gets up from their desks to gather for coffee and cake. When you're synchronized well with others, there is a visceral sense in which time just feels realer, more intense, more vivid, more filled with meaning. William McNeill writes about this in his monograph, Keeping Time Together, when he describes marching with his unit in base camp. Marching aimlessly about the drill field, conscious only of keeping in step so as to make the next move correctly and in time, somehow felt good. Words are inadequate to describe the emotion aroused by the prolonged movement in unison. A sense of pervasive well-being, a strange sense of personal enlargement, of being swelled out and becoming bigger than life. Moving briskly and keeping in time was enough to make us feel good about ourselves, satisfied to be moving together, and vaguely pleased with the world at large. Question is, what kind of freedom do we really want when it comes to time? You can make commitments for the rewards of synchronized time by joining an amateur choir or a sports team, a camping group, or a religious organization. You can experiment with what it feels like to not try to exert an iron grip on your timetable, to sometimes let the rhythms of family life and friendships and collective action take precedence over your perfect morning routine or your system for scheduling your week.
Thank you, Doug. That reading was taken from this little gem of a book that I first heard the author interviewed on NPR, 4,000 Weeks, Time Management for Immortals. And as you might imagine, it really isn't a traditional time management book. It's this concept that the average person, in America anyway, lives 4,000 weeks. And what are you going to do with those weeks? How are you going to choose to live? How are we going to choose to live our lives? I was remarkably taken by it, to be honest with you. Kind of a social psychology book, I guess I'd say. There were real gems in here, and made me ask my own self important questions. Of course, my husband, my beloved Bart, I said to him so excitedly one morning, guess how many weeks the average person lives? Because I thought it would have been, I don't know, 40 or 50,000. And he goes, 4,000? I thought, how does he always know so much more than me? But I would recommend it. And the thing that got me, and what I wanted to share this morning, was, again, the power of the concept, and there's a full chapter on communal time, synchronized time, what happens, for example, in Russia where people were given identity cards and you had to work. It was astounding to me, and how lost that has kind of gotten in the mainstream for many people, even with COVID and, right, working from home, and, so, and it made me think about, I remember when my daughter was born 30 years ago, and how absolutely disorganized my entire system was because I had no more synchronized time. I didn't know the words then, but I knew it actually didn't work for me, and I made a choice, and grateful I could, to actually go back into the workforce part-time, and she was with someone part-time. But my point is, I needed that. I needed the rhythms, the connections, when he talks about how when people are retired, they still long for weekends, right? I work every weekend, and still on Friday I'll say, it's the weekend. But it's that communal, synchronized with community, right? So anyway, I have been preaching about and talking about and thinking about and writing about the importance and the need for religious community for as long as I remember, years before I was an ordained minister. I didn't have a consistent religious community as a child, though I longed for one. Nature was my sanctuary, still is, but then it was the only sanctuary. I belonged to the animals, the weather, the cornfields and the woods in Pennsylvania. My family didn't attend church regularly, but we did go faithfully on Christmas Eve and Easter. Those two services each year filled me with a feeling of hope, connection, community, and meaning. They carried me through the rest of the year. I will never judge people who only come to church on Easter or Christmas, or in our case, candlelight. They too are a part of this beloved spiritual community. They also belong here. And so are you, whoever you are. All of us are part of this community. Our differences of opinion, our variety of religious experiences, our unique gifts, cares, and concerns make up this church. They are essential to our collective wholeness. We are less whole without everyone who is here, and those who are not yet here, and those who are here but not always here. They're still a part of us, always. Our annual ministry theme of interconnectedness has been resonating deeply with many of you. Knowing and feeling the interconnectedness between everything reminds us to prioritize connection, to be curious, and to do all we can to care for and restore the sacred connections between all of life. As Martin Luther King Jr. said, and I quote, "In a real sense, all life is interrelated. All of us are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny." Thich Nhat Hanh called this interbeing. We must remember we belong not only here, we belong to each other. These are challenging times in our country and in our world. And many, if not most of us, desperately wish that things were different. But wishing things were different does not make it so. We are here at this time, in this country, in this community, in this world. There are things we can do to be helpful, many things actually. Being part of a healthy spiritual community is one of them. Community and spiritual or religious community offer many gifts. Here at FRS, we're invited to develop connections with people we might not have otherwise. We are asked to think about and care about and consider topics and things that hopefully at times stretch us, and hopefully at times comfort us. Religious community creates a sacred space where we explore the big questions in life with others who are also committed to lifelong learning. This is not the church where we say, the answer is, period, end of story, book is closed. This community is filled with people who care deeply, who show up in joyful and difficult times. Being part of a spiritual community also asks things of us. It asks us to give of ourselves, to care about other people. It asks us to balance our needs and desires with the needs and desires of others. We learn in giving, however, that it is as much about receiving as it is about helping. We benefit from giving when we can, when we're asked, and sometimes when we're not even asked, but we see an opportunity. We grow from doing things we might have otherwise shied away from. We can be lifted out of a bad mood by serving as an usher, a greeter, participating in a vigil at Market Square, or coming to a small group. Who hasn't felt the energy of love and care that's visceral in this place? Whether it's during the week in the lower meeting house, running into someone you know in larger community, or sitting here together on Sundays and other times. Most of us have cried, sitting in the pews or at the pulpit, at least once, while listening perhaps to beautiful music, learning about someone at a memorial service, listening to important words while looking out these gorgeous windows. We've also all been frustrated at times, I'm quite sure, wondering perhaps why things are being done the way they are. But guess what? We are always welcome here. You are welcome for who you are. You are, as we say, welcome in yoga pants or bow ties, or both. You're welcome when you're in a bad mood and when you're in a good mood. There's another gift of spiritual community, less frequently acknowledged, which you heard in Doug's reading and which I mentioned at the start, which is the gift of participating in communal time, synchronized movement, ritual. Athletes experience this when being together on a team, as do singers while singing in a choir, and meditators sitting on their cushions side by side in a sangha. You may experience this here as we recite in unison the chalice lighting words or the affirmation of faith. You may feel an uplift that accompanies synchronized time when the sanctuary is buzzing with people talking before service starts, or the calm that comes with the sound of the singing bowl. We experience the gifts of communal time as we feel the welling of care while listening to joys and sorrows, even if you don't know the person. It is the assurance and rootedness that you feel knowing that every Sunday at 10:30 a.m., people are gathered here in person and online, and you are a part of that even when you're not here. Communal time and synchronized rhythm is especially grounding in challenging times, whether personal or in the larger world. It feels good to show up with others, sit with others, sing together. Now, truth is, we're never actually alone. We are all part of a universal collective energy, whether we are by ourselves or in this sanctuary. But the feeling that comes from being in shared rhythm with others, many say it is sublime. Next, you're going to be hearing from 3 FRS members, each of whom will share one way that being a part of this community and our communal rhythm affects them and brings meaning to their lives. There were many things we could have chosen to demonstrate this. We picked these 3 because of their importance in our church life and future at this time. I do hope you'll choose to participate in one or all of them, and there are, again, many other ways to be involved. I know we are looking for ushers, by the way. You can sing in the choir, you can help with children and youth, you can share who you are. You belong. You are a part of us, and we are better for that. Amen. Mr. Tom Stites.
Good morning. I've been a member of this congregation for 23 years. So when I was asked to say a few words this morning about the congregational insight workshops that are now being conducted, I set out to count how many times I have been drawn to join with other members of this congregation to think about its future. So I think I came up with 6 times in 23 years, but it may be more. We walked right into it. When my wife, Alex Measy, and I moved to Newburyport and joined this church, it was the year 2000, and the process of doing a major capital funds drive was underway. That included such things as get your heads together and think, and let's have a little conversation. And here's somebody who's going to moderate that, and we're going to... Anyway, we walked right into number 1. This capital campaign, for those of us who've not been around so long, turned our dirt basement into the lower meeting house. So those conversations worked out pretty well. Then there was the great rethink, at least that's my name for it. Members of the parish board read a book called The Almost Church, and that led to something called the Future Church Committee, and that led to an amazing visioning effort. What will our future church be? It led to a process that engaged 154 FRS people before it was done. And it built up so much energy and enthusiasm that 59 of us attended an overnight retreat and got up the next morning and joyously wrote vision and mission statements that stood for years as ours. That worked pretty well. Then came Harold Babcock's decision to retire after 28 years in this pulpit. Did anybody have a vision of a church beyond Harold? Well, not much. So that led to introspective workshops of pretty significant gravity. Then our interim minister showed up, Susan Milner, and she started us on the path to calling a new settled minister. The UUA furnished a wonderful consultant to help us envision an FRS beyond Harold. We called Reverend Rebecca. That sure worked. With Reverend Rebecca's leadership, the congregation was entering a new space, so the parish board invited us together in groups to re-explore our mission and vision. And now, right now, we are called to another ambitious visioning task, to picture how this congregation will enter into the 4th century of our long history. What is our vision, and how do we prepare to make it happen? These are not just practical questions. Processes like this and the others that I've described give each of us a chance to fulfill a rare role that Unitarian Universalism offers us. Other religions don't. Few do, anyway. Ours is a bottom-up religion. There are no bishops or other authorities to tell us as people or us as a congregation what to do. That the people, the authority, is us. There is no higher authority than the members of this church. So when we come together to talk about a vision or a mission or a concept for a 4th century, we're not just a bunch of people in the room. We are the authority of this church. This actually matters. And if you think about it from a personal perspective, how many times do we sit in a room with anybody where the authority of everybody in the room really matters? Well, this is one of those. So, I took part in the first congregational, how about congregational? I can't tell you how many times I've done that. I took part in the first congregational insight workshop that are going on, and I was deeply impressed after all my experience sitting in rooms like that, how well it was put together, how easily the people joined in the spirit of exploration. It was really interesting. And if you've yet to join in this process, I urge you to sign up and take part. You can sign up as you sniff the onion and garlic in the parish hall after the service. Jeff Bard will be there with a little table and with all the dates and times. If that doesn't work, you can sign up on the web, on our website, and there will be a link in the steeple, and it'll be hard to ignore unless you work at it. Anyway, here is your chance to make your contribution to ensuring that FRS's spirit will be at its best as we enter our 4th century. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Sue Creed, and I have been coming to this church for 66 years. My parents dragged me here like all parents do, but after Sunday school was completed and I became an adult, one of the most meaningful ways I increased my engagement in this sacred place was by participating in the annual pledge drive. The first time I participated in the annual pledge drive, I was about 8 years old, assisting my dad, Roy Tattersall, who some of you might even remember. Back in the day, there was only one Sunday where canvassers, now called stewards, went personally to every member's and every friend's house to get their pledge. This sometimes went like trick or treat, where people faked not being home or actually planned to be away for that afternoon, but most people anticipated the call and were ready to do their part. As a child, I was not allowed to go into the house while the business of pledges was being discussed. My job was sorting the however many pledge cards my dad had been given so that our route began at the church and ended at the church. Patiently waiting in the car with no radio or iPad or cell phone to entertain me, my dad made his calls all in that one Sunday afternoon with me by his side. When I became an adult member of the church, I continued for a number of years as a steward, and now I am co-chair of this important endeavor. I have never known what numbers anyone has ever put on their pledge card, as they are sealed. But I do know I have been connected to more new people by this one important, and I will even say sacred act, which is a marvelous thing indeed.
Sue and Ray, right over here, are co-chairing our campaign this year, and Sue is in Florida, as she let us know would be the case at times through this campaign. So we're so delighted that COVID and all these things have allowed this sort of thing to be possible. And I'm sure you're online, Sue, and we all say hi. One of the things that Tom didn't explicitly mention, but that is also true, is that every Unitarian Universalist congregation not only directs or governs ourselves, the members make the decisions, set those priorities, approves a budget, but we also fund ourselves. There is no other source of revenue that comes in except perhaps what we can do creatively together. So every gift is appreciated, every gift matters, and we know that it may feel like, oh, here we are again, but I'm inviting us all this year to realize that this is a sacred act. Yes, here we are again. Thank God, right? There are many churches who are having different conversations at this time. So I invite us all to see it as an opportunity to remember why this place matters, to listen to others and learn from them why it matters. Because the beauty of it is that there are probably as many reasons why this place matters as there are members and friends. We are diverse, and we have such gifts to share with each other. The goal this year is to have at least 50 people, 50 members, serve as stewards, where you would reach out to other people and talk to them, and through an email and hopefully a visit or a phone call or a cup of tea. I think at this time we have something like 35-ish, but I would like to ask those of you who've already agreed to do this, or who have ever done it in the past, to please rise so we can thank you and also see who you are. I invite you, please stay rise, please stand. I am inviting you to continue to be standing also, so that if any of you are wondering more about it or think I really don't like to do that, just talk to any of these people, right? They're not going to report back. Just honestly talk with them. Thank you so much. You may be seated.
Good morning. I can remember Jason McLinn many years ago standing up here for the first time and saying, "It's intoxicating." No. 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 It's terrifying. I just didn't put that out there. And I also realized I have ADD because my notes start at 7 and they go down to 1, so you're going to see me turning pages a little bit, which is not going to make this any more enjoyable for me, but hopefully no less enjoyable for you. I'm wondering what new members are hoping to find in this community today and going forward. I'm wondering what existing members and friends are wishing they could find in this community today and going forward that maybe they haven't found yet. I can tell you what has been missing for me. I joined when Reverend Rebecca came. That was my very first time. And I really didn't want to come to church. I just really loved what she had to say in an article she'd written. And I realized at that point in time that there was going to be a time when my extreme introversion and social anxiety was more than likely going to make me a recluse at some point in my life, because I don't have much family. And I'd stop working. And I really should have a plan, because being a recluse really isn't a plan. Well, it was, but it wasn't the plan I thought I should have. And so I didn't know anybody here other than my husband, and I'm not good at connecting with people, so I started to get involved in stuff. And so I did stuff like the VME, and I'm on the board and the finance committee, and I do the auctions, and I do stuff, but again, wherever you go, there you are. So here's my introverted social awkwardness at these meetings and events, and I'm kind of standing there going, oh, I'll just kind of sit back and wait and listen, and maybe I can be helpful, because I like being helpful. But I still didn't feel very connected, and particularly on Sundays. Because on Sundays, I have stuff to do. I was just here as me. And that's not a place I don't usually am just me someplace. I'm at work, or I'm with my mother, or whatever. But here, I'm just me. And Sundays are just hard. I find I miss eye contact with people. I think it's because I'm not used to church, and I'm not used to the more formal kind of environment of church, but I like eye contact. I like that feeling of, I see you. And then it changed, because Stephen needed a greeter for the Thanksgiving service, the Sunday after Thanksgiving up at Hampton Falls. And he knows I was in a horrible mood. And I actually had reason. There was a time in my life, I called it my dark month of the soul, where I felt like everyone I loved was at risk. My job was at risk. I was at risk. And I was trying really hard to find some light, and I wasn't finding it. And I was a greeter that day, and it was a little small collection of people, but an awful lot of people who are here today, it seems. And it was wonderful. It was wonderful. We left, and I felt lighter, and I felt like the world was brighter, and it was spiritual, and it was loving, and it lasted, and it was because it was saying hello to people and having people say hi to me and smiling at them with like this big grin on my face that I don't even, if you took my picture and you said you're going to take my picture, that grin is not the one you're going to see. It's going to be this grimace of, can you please? But I had this big grin on my face, and it just lasted. And then it happened again the next time he needed a greeter, and I realized that this was what I was missing, this connection, this feeling of seeing and being seen. And the thing that it made me realize, and this came to me in the middle of the night, I always loved a poem by Rilke, Letters to a Young Poet, and I always thought of it as a love poem because that was how I was introduced to it, but there's a part of it that this is what it meant. Change the love experience, which is now full of error, altered it from the ground up, reshaped it into a relation that is meant to be of one human being to another, no longer of just man to woman. This human love that will fulfill itself, infinitely considerate and gentle, and kind and clear, in binding and releasing, will resemble that which we are preparing with struggle and toil. The love that consists in this, that two solitudes protect and border and salute each other. And I am not the only introvert, and I'm not the only person who tends to be lonely, and I wish that feeling for you. Reverend Rebecca and Cynthia have come up with a dream for a team called the Connections Team. Reverend Rebecca's vision, the group will help with the process of welcoming visitors, acclimating those who have been coming, connecting them to the church, supporting new members in finding their way, and overall supporting FRS in becoming the beloved community for all. This is my beloved community. I am ever so grateful to have found you. The best part about standing up here is I can look at you in the eyes and I can see you, and it's wonderful. I'm never going to come up here again. I just want to get down in one piece. But with all my heart, this is a true love. And I invite you, if you would like to be a part of this Connections team for whatever reason, just please be in touch with me, be in touch with Woman Cooper, who is the most welcoming person I've ever encountered, Reverend Rebecca and Cynthia, because we really do have an opportunity to make this into the community that you wish to belong to.
Thank you, Renee and Tom and Sue. Just in case you've ever wondered, why do they stand so on high? Because that was my first question to the search committee when I came in. I think I said a similar like, oh God, because the church where I had done my internship, it was a used car dealership that got revamped seriously into a church. So we were like on the floor, right? And they said, we can't see people. The people in the back can't see. And it's true. They're not stadium seats. So people who are not in the very front rows can't see very well if we're all right down there. But, wow. Thank you. Thank you all. The generosity of our community is an essential ministry that supports the work of our church both in Newburyport and beyond. Each week, 50% of the Sunday offering, not designated as a pledge, goes to support a local community partner engaged in important efforts to transform our region. The January shared collection goes to support Nourish the North Shore. The mission of Nourishing North Shore is to ensure equal access to healthy local food to all members of the North Shore communities in a manner that builds community, fosters connection, and promotes dignity and self-reliance. The seeds of Nourishing the North Shore were sown from the FRS program, Stir the Pot. So let's continue our support of such important work. To give online, please use the link in your order of service or below the live stream, and you can always mail a check to the church as well. Thank you. The offering will now be gratefully received. choir. This is a time in our service each week where we lift up the joys and the sorrows of our beloved faith community. Hugh Martinez, our pastoral care associate, will light the candles as I read what has been shared with me in advance of today's service. You can always send a joy or a sorrow to Between Us at frsuu.org or write in the journal that is in the vestibule at the start of each Sunday's service. This morning we light a candle of blessed memory and love. Jennifer Levitt shares that Brian Tweed died tragically and much, much, much too young. She says he was a bright light and will always be remembered. We light a candle for Brian, his family, and all of his many friends. Carol Gamble asks that we light another candle of blessed memory, and she says, please offer prayers for the family and friends of Lenny Willis of Exeter, who died suddenly on January 19th. He was a dear friend of Carol's and so many others in our community. And we light one final candle, as we do each week, for all of the joys and all of the sorrows that, although unspoken, are held in just as much love and care. This morning, for our time of meditation and prayer and centering, I'm going to invite us into a meditation practice taken from work done through Heart Math. This is a wonderful, wonderful organization, and their techniques have been proven and used in many, many different situations by many people. But I'd like to invite us into this now. It's entitled Freeze Frame. Let's take a time inside ourselves. So I invite you, if you're comfortable, to just allow yourself to be fully wherever you are. Feel the pew under your body, the back of the pew against your body. For those online, allow yourself to settle. Allow your body to feel what is holding it. If there is something in your hands, maybe set it down. If you notice that your palms or your hands are kind of into a fist or held together, imagine that you're being invited to just allow them to open and sit. Sit in this time and space and see what just a minute or two can do. I invite you now to bring into your mind and maybe even into your heart something that is causing you concern, distress, frustration, lack of clarity, anger, sadness, confusion. It may be something that you're literally feeling right now, something you experienced this morning, yesterday, or 10 years ago. But allow yourself to feel this and notice how your body is. Notice if there are parts of your body that become more clenched or perhaps more rigid. Notice if there are parts of your body that don't seem to be receiving the breath. And now move your attention to your heart. And bring into that heart a memory of some time when you felt love, when you felt appreciation, when you felt gratitude or humor or care. And remember that time. Where were you? Who were you with, if anyone? But above all, feel that feeling in your heart. Just for a few seconds, literally 10. Feel the feeling. And if your mind starts to wander, even in these short seconds, bring it back. Feel the gratitude, the love, care. compassion. And now bring into your awareness, but stay in your heart, the situation that you started with a minute ago, the situation that's causing frustration, anger, sadness, confusion. And imagine that you stay right with yourself in your heart and bring that feeling into your heart as well. And ask your heart to give you any guidance, any insight, anything that would be helpful to you at this time as it pertains to the challenging feelings. Try as best as you can to literally stay in your heart and not your mind. You may have gotten something right away. You may not. It may come later today, tomorrow, in a dream. But here is my invitation to you. Whatever your heart encourages you to consider, whatever your heart brought to your awareness, listen to that. Take that step. Try out what came to you, as big or seemingly small, self-evident or surprising. Taking a deep breath and just thanking yourself for being open, thanking your heart, and remembering that the wisdom of the heart is just as real, ever present, and available as the intelligence in the mind, in the gut, and in our bodies. May it be so. Okay, take a couple breaths because we're going to radically change the energy. We're going to move into our new member ritual, so I'll be coming downstairs. As you've been hearing this morning, membership in a Unitarian Universalist congregation is deeply personal, deeply meaningful, and looks really different for each of us. Some people make this decision spontaneously. Some people make this decision after decades of consideration. Some people take this to mean that they already know what will change in their life because of it or what they will do. Others are not sure and have no idea. This I can promise you, you will be changed. You will be made more whole, more rich. You will be entering into a sacred covenant or promise with others here in the sanctuary, online, and who aren't with us today but are always part of this community. Others who are committed to the principles of Unitarian Universalism, committed to the values of this specific congregation, who we are, who we're becoming, committed to caring for one another, committed to honoring the traditions of the past and being open to what is emerging and new. This is a sacred act, not because there's any creed we follow, but because we trust our own wisdom and heart. So at this time, we have 14 new members today. I know at least one isn't able to be here, but if those of you who are here would come up and join me on the chancel, and anyone else who feels so moved to join as well, please come forward. And we won't make you go to the pulpit, and we won't make you speak. Yet. Got someone coming from above. No pressure, Teddy. Okay. To our newest members, those of you here or online or who will listen to this later, we're entering into now a blessed and a formal promise and covenant to one another and to this sacred, beloved church community. And I ask you, do you, the newest members of our congregation, promise to bring your whole self to this congregation, including sharing your beauty, your gifts, and your talents, your pains, and the part of you in need of healing, so that we may grow stronger as a congregation and more whole in our shared humanity? If you do, please answer, we do.
We do.
Do you bring a commitment to the principles of Unitarian Universalism?
We do.
Do you bring a commitment to community and this community?
We do.
Do you bring a commitment to love and to justice?
We do.
If I can invite our other members who are here with us to please rise. Members of the First Religious Society Unitarian Universalist in Newburyport, Massachusetts, do you welcome these new members into our church community, covenanting to walk together with them in your shared spiritual and life journeys?
We do.
Do you promise to be open to what they bring to this beloved church community?
We do.
Will you seek to be in right relationship with them and all who may follow them through these doors?
We will.
Do I have our children and youth back? Yes? All right, they're in the back, standing up on the pews. Children and youth, do you welcome these new members to our community? Will you share your gifts, your love, and your light with them? And will you get to know their gifts and their love and their light? If I can invite everyone else to please rise. To all gathered here today, are you open to the possibilities that love brings?
We are.
Please join me both in these shared words and then with your welcome and greeting to welcome and greet our newest members. We welcome you, our new members, and celebrate our beloved faith community. Welcome. Can't we give a cheer? Come on. Please remain standing. We have a tradition here of welcoming our new members by singing together Let It Be a Dance, which is number 311, while I and some of our other leaders greet you as you come down. So, Let It Be a Dance. Please remain standing as we join together in our unison benediction and Doug extinguishes the chalice. The words again are in your order of service. And before I do that, I want to remind everyone is invited to join us next door, but please go out the front door for cake and to welcome our new members and coffee. Please sign up for a workshop if you haven't, and there's also a spectacular concert here this afternoon at 3 o'clock that I would really encourage you to come to if you're able. You can buy tickets after this service or even at the door. So let's join together in our unison benediction. May the love which overcomes all differences, which heals all wounds, which puts to flight all fears, which reconciles all who are separated, be in us and among us now and always. My friends, as we go from this place, go lifted up, go inspired, go willing to take a step, to take a new way home, to try a new dance. And when you do that, know that you are surrounded by the love and the care and the support of this beloved church community. Know that here, everyone is welcome. Here we are made more whole for being together. Here we are blessed, and then share those blessings with this world. Go in peace, my friends, and return again in great joy. Amen, and blessed be.